Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Ansley, and I serve as chair of the foundation. And on behalf of the foundation, I'd like to welcome you to the Home and Garden Symposium. I'd like to give special thanks to Reagan and Morgan, who served as chair, and also all members of the committee that put together this fantastic event. I'd like to also give a special shout out to our premier sponsor, which is Cotton Greenhouses. They are owned by David Wickerbaker and Brent Crenshaw. Unfortunately, they're very busy and they're at the greenhouses and couldn't make it. But hopefully you guys will enjoy the event. Once again, welcome, and I'll bring before you on behalf of the college, Dr. Rolf Tobin.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the faculty and staff and students at OCtech, I want to welcome you to the Home and Garden Symposium. I would like to take the opportunity to recognize some of our retirees at the college. I've had a chance to interact with some of them, but just for you all to see how those folks continue to support the college, even after they left. I saw Dr. Crook here, but the rest of the retirees, if you would just stand and let folks see. Come on. We also have members of our area commission, which is the governing board of the college. See Ms. Sabalis, Katie Hain, if they would stand. John Schuler, who's a former board member, former chair, I saw him. There he is. Katie Hain, John Schuler, Ray Sabalis. Thank you all for being here. We had graduation at college last week. We had over 200 students walk across the stage. 72 of those graduates were nurses. That is the largest nursing class we've had graduate in the history of this institution. If you think about it, everybody needs a nurse. Everybody needs an early care and education worker. Everybody needs quality law enforcement. And those are the kinds of programs that we offer that really change the lives of our students. I say to them, and I say at graduation every year, that we're the first stop on the road to the American dream. So there are students who are the first in their families to graduate college. Some of them are raising children, some are military veterans, and some of them are beginning a second career. And that's what we do, and that is the mission of this college, to take folks and help them achieve their career goals. But we don't do this work alone. The foundation plays a critical role in helping our students to be successful and helping our college to thrive. And so for that, I thank you all for joining us today, either as sponsors or attendees, because we do this work together. I talk about OCtech as a technical college, but it really is the community college. And it's our job to help elevate our students and graduates, but also to elevate this community that we're all living in and raise our families. So thank you all for being here. I think you're in for a really good program. We've got some really great speakers, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Okay.
glad to see such a wonderful crowd today. Every year, I'm excited about the program we have and the speakers that are coming to share information with us. But this year, I'm especially excited. Today, we're celebrating two local talents. Both Rebecca and Stephanie grew up in Orangeburg County. And so I'm so thrilled they're back today to share information with us. And when I reached out to both of these ladies earlier this year, without hesitation, they both enthusiastically agreed to come and speak for us and work our event into our schedule. So I'm most appreciative. I think it's going to be a great event today, and so happy to have them here. Rebecca is going to lead off for us today, and Rebecca grew up in the Santee area. She is now the U.S. Sales Executive for David Austin Roses, and you'll see her roses on the stage, and there were some in the atrium area. David Austin is the English rose breeder. These beautiful garden and floral roses are marketed throughout the world. And aside from managing the wholesale garden rose division, she provides technical assistance and retail support to garden centers across the United States and in Canada. Prior to joining David Austin Roses, Rebecca was a garden editor with Southern Living magazine for 15 years. She's a Clemson graduate where she earned her master's and bachelor's degree in horticulture. And she and her husband now split their gardening time between their home in Santee and in Everett, Washington, outside of Seattle. Now, she's grown up in Santee, so she is a family friend of mine for many years, so it's a real privilege to introduce you to her today. And some of you may remember Rebecca when she spoke for us back in 2012. So I'm very excited to have her here and let her share ideas for how we all might go about revitalizing our landscapes. So let me welcome Rebecca back to Orangeburg and to OCtech.
Thank you, Faith, and thank you so much. I mean, this is kind of like a homecoming, and it's even better than a class reunion because we just had our class reunion 40 years, like this past November. But I've seen so many friendly faces, and this is just amazing. It's both an honor and a privilege to be here because any of you try to think of how OCtech has not touched your life in some way. So, you know, you being here, you bidding a little higher on all of those goodies that we saw is only going to benefit this and take it even further. All right, so let's see if we can get loaded. And we might have to have some help. That's always a good. Oh, hold on. Here we go. So when they called and they said, hey, will you do a talk for us? I said, of course I will. Well, what do you want to talk about? And they said, well, you know, a lot of people are either downsizing or it's the first time home. And we want to like learn some tricks and tips for kind of maintaining our yard or making it lower maintenance. But we also want to hear about David Austin too. So this is going to be kind of a mashup between my time at Southern Living and my time at David Austin Roses, because I'm going to give you a little tip and trick here. You know, back when I was a garden editor at Southern Living, I really did not care for roses. And I didn't tell them that when I interviewed, okay? So the opportunity came to interview. And, you know, I was like, oh, yes, I love your roses. But it came about in kind of an odd way. You know, Steve Bender, Gene Bussell, all of us would draw straws and be like, no, you go talk to the rosarians. No, you go talk to them. And I'll tell you why, because we thought roses, you had to have an arsenal of chemicals to grow them and make them beautiful. We thought they were fickle. We thought they were hard to manage. And I just had never experienced the David Austins before. So I was at the Dallas Arboretum in July, which is even hotter than South Carolina. And this poor man with a British accent kind of sauntered up to me. And it was Michael Marriott, the David Austin Roses. And he's about to die. I'm a Southerner. And if you've ever been in Dallas in July, it's horrific. So it was for garden writers. And the poor man's about to like fall out. And he said, I really think you ought to try these roses so that you can write about them in Southern Living. And I said, I really don't think they're gonna work. I mean, they're little, English roses and they're real pretty and they look too delicate. And he said, no, go ahead and do this. So I took them up on him. He sent them to me. I planted them wrong. I did everything wrong. And one night I came home and I was like, what is that fragrance? It's like 11 o'clock at night, which is kind of normal for a garden editor during the busy season. And I was like, what is that fragrance? This is insane. So I'm literally walking around my garden at night going, it's not you. What is that? It was Strawberry Hill. And I started paying attention. It actually did well for me, especially once I started pruning and fertilizing it and all that. And then the opportunity came when the whole publishing world changed. The opportunity came for me to go to work for them. And I was like, yeah, I love your roses. I've grown them and they're fabulous. So that's, now you know the backstory. So when I was at Southern Living and we would pitch garden stories, John Floyd, who there will never be a John Floyd again. He was the editor-in-chief for years. And we would be kind of nervous. And he would say, Rebecca, you pitch your story to him, and he'd go, well, what makes this garden so special? It deserves to be in Southern Living magazine. And you had to he said, there are a lot of pretty gardens, but what makes this special? So this is kind of my first question to you, is what makes the garden special, not to me, but to you? And sometimes it's sentimental. Sometimes it's my first home. Sometimes it's because it's my grandmother's. But this is the lawn garden. Hold on 1 second. This is the lawn garden at David Austin. There's 6 gardens there. The peacocks run the place. We work for them. But what makes this garden special to David Austin is the old species roses that Mr. Austin fell in love with, and the new modern roses, the hybrid teas that he crossed to come up with English roses, all reside in this garden, and then a lot of the new introductions. So that is a very meaningful garden to us. But when you come and go back and say, what other aspects make a garden charming, welcoming, relaxing? Does it have year-round interest? Is it budget-friendly, low maintenance? A lot of you want low maintenance. And romantic, that all fits the bill. And honestly, I could do this whole talk just on this one slide because there's so much going on. This was a garden I shot with Ralph Anderson, one of the photographers. Oh my gosh, it might have been 15 years ago now. And so this is a house in Atlanta. And if you look kind of to the right of the slide, that would have been the garage. And then you go down the little cobblestone or like a bluestone path to get to the front door. But what really captured our hearts and imagination was this little courtyard that was right off the breezeway. And this was one of the best read stories that I did while I was at Southern Living. I think it clicks all the bills, all the little check boxes on this. And you go, well, that ain't budget friendly. No, not the finished product. But the cool thing here is that if you phase something in over time, it can be budget friendly. So how do you start with doing this? Think about your own garden. And a lot of times we go, well, I could never imagine this being part of my garden. Well, what I'm going to do today is kind of lead you through some steps of kind of how to evaluate what's already there and then add other things. One of the first things I always do is get your structure in place, even if you cannot afford to build it right then. So this little stone wall, fabulous. That might not have been a stone wall originally, might just have been a delineation mark, might have been a picket fence until you have the money to do that. You always want to start by putting in your core evergreens like Oakland hollies there. You can, then shape out boxwoods. The little cobblestone center fountain area, that could have been pea gravel for years. And you see how you can kind of phase something in to get something really quality for the long haul. Now, let's talk about South Carolina gardens. Historic. How many historic gardens are here? Amazing amount. And I want you to take a good long look at this old plantation house. This is very key, and we're kind of coming back around to some of this. My grandmother's house had this similar layout where you come down the long driveway, and really the only plants in the garden were her camellias and then this large kind of poof or cloud of boxwoods that were right in front of the front steps. Southern and South Carolina gardens always have a collection. You know, I remember my grandmother getting really mad at me because I pulled all the camellias off, and she was probably getting ready to do something with those camellias for our garden club. And I laid them all out around me under the magnolia tree, and I'm just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But I remember that, okay? So think back to your childhood and what really meant a lot to you. That's a sentimental memory for me. South Carolina gardens can be really sprawling too. And you go, what on earth am I going to do with all this space? Especially if you come from a farm. I know my sister-in-law, Yvette, really had to deal with that. She's dealt with it beautifully. And then sometimes they can be overwhelming. Perhaps you feel like this is what your garden looks like right now. Perhaps you had a family member that just couldn't garden, and they had put a lot of money into it one time and a lot of passion into it. And how do you conquer this? First thing, you just start by mowing the grass, folks. And then the next thing you have to do is actually go in and say, what means something here? All right, I'm gonna say that. Then you go and cut out or dig out the volunteers. Up in my area in Washington, cherry trees like sprout like crazy and alders, and that's the bane of my existence. But down here, you could have Palomia, you could have a Chinese tree of heaven, and then you start calling back, and I can look at this mess and know that there was actually a really big garden there at one time. So if this is where you are right now, don't worry, you can move forward. Now, let's talk about some of my best tips and tricks for how you can refresh the garden in the rosiest way possible, because I'm always going to tie back roses to kind of a solution. Everyone thinks of roses as being a problem, but they can actually be quite a solution for you if you use them in the right way. We always think roses have to be quarantined into a little tiny area and, you know, encased in boxwoods. That's not necessarily true. Mr. Alston wanted roses to be a part of the landscape, which is why he bred them to be disease resistant, repeat bloom. They're all fragrant, 5 fragrance profiles, and just to have a lot of charm and grace. Lady of Shalott, which can be either a big arching climber, a big arching shrub, or a climber, is an amazing rose for Orangeburg County. And, you know, it does have that Clemson Tiger kind of flavor, which I'm fond of, but it takes the heat and humidity quite well. And I absolutely love the way it's trained. It's planted on the corner of the porch, and then the canes are trained over, because remember, to get a climber to put out more flowers, you don't want to send the canes straight up. You want to send them into the bloomerang zone, which is about a 45-degree angle. So training them on the porch railings, and off of that, you're going to get the little flowering shoots, and that's where you're going to get the fullness in the flowers. So that's an excellent thing. So we already touched on this, but this is Mr. Alston. I'm often asked, is he a real person? Is he like Tommy Bahama, or is this a real man? Is he a brand? He was definitely a real person, and he was a farm boy. He grew up in Shropshire, England, and he was in love with those old-fashioned roses, but the problem is they only bloomed once, and they only had like shades of like blush, pink, and sometimes a very blue-based crimson. And then what he did was he crossed them with the modern roses, which everyone said, this is where it's at, the hybrid teas is what everyone wants now. But he thought they were just too stiff. So when he crossed them, he got the repeat bloom, he got some more disease resistance, and got the big color range like you saw with Lady of Shalott. So his work actually shaped the whole rose industry. And right now, kind of the trend that we see is that everybody is chasing the English rose genetics and trying to get something that is more of a part of the landscape rather than that hybrid tea look. Now, if you're into hybrid teas, you keep on loving on that. That's wonderful. I'm glad you have that as part of your garden. But I do really feel that these are a lot easier and a lot less demanding. So, because this is a farming community, I thought you would find it very interesting that you grow roses out in the field just like you would soybean, corn, or cotton. They aren't seeded out there. They're either the plant for the parent that you're going to graft onto, in the US it's Dr. Huey rootstock, or the little plug is planted out in the field like you would plant strawberries, and they grow up, and then before it's time to harvest, you're bush hog. Yeah, they're bush hog. So all those people go, oh, you gotta be careful with grasses, they're delicate. No, they're bush hog, and then they're popped out of the ground like you would potatoes. And then they go to cold storage. So lesson one, I bet so many of you have seen a house similar to this before, right? I want you to lose the green tutu. There is nothing when you come through design school that says every single inch of the base of the house has to be covered up with shrubbery. Nowhere. What you do want to do is enhance the architecture. Remember, architecture always rules. And so if you have a house that maybe it's got some funky stuff going on architecturally, or you think it looks like it's floating, or maybe it's just like, oh, so high off the ground, then you want to pick the right shrub to kind of bring it back into scale. Same house, look down below what's going on. They remove the green tutu. They emphasize the front door. You always start at the front door, okay? They actually anchored the corners of the house with, like boxwood, or it could be a ligustrum, whatever works for you. But one of the things that I think is so smart that gives this a lot of oomph is that they actually graded. This is not a big slope, but there is a little bit of slope there. And so they graded to make that transition from public space out at the road into kind of a semi-private space of the front door where you go up steps. You always want your sidewalk and your steps to be about the same width or a little bit wider than the front door, okay? Because that gives you that grand entrance. They replaced the old wrought iron with the lattice, and you saw this in a lot of the old 40s plan books. That was really nice. And then a simple eyebrow window above the front door, and it completely renovates it. They did not spend massive, massive monies. Probably the most expensive thing here was building that little wall and grading it up. But what a big difference, right? Really, really nice. Okay, who's seen this? This is the house that looks like it's sinking. Again, going back to losing that green tutu, if the scale is not right, don't feel like you have got to put something under a window because it's a window. See how they have overpruned the ligustrum on the corners? You can simply do this by loosening things up and not overpruning. Tree forming also, doesn't this that you see on the right look so much better and airy than that is over pruned? And that's okay. If you have over pruned, you can just stop pruning for a little while and then limb up and get it a little cleaner. I would pull out all of those shrubs under that window and go with something like mondo grass or holly fern, depending on the sun exposure. And without even digging up the front wall, you could add more plantings on the other side of the wall so it doesn't feel so tight. I have a saying, when in doubt, swing it out. That means bed lines, sidewalks, everything. I want you to move it on out to give more room, because as things grow, it's really going to start seeming more crowded. Okay, this is like coming out on in my underwear, but this is my house in Santee. And when we bought it, it was a lot worse. All right, this is after we started cleaning up. So I have a dead Oakland holly that we did take out this winter. And Amy saw it, Amy sitting out there, there was weeds, there was all kinds of stuff growing out there. I was so excited to have this banana shrub tree growing up by my front door, because I was waiting and going, oh my gosh, it's gonna smell amazing. Not so much, and it has borers. So on my own to-do list is to take a lot more stuff out. I gotta get a stump grinder. But you know what? We're there about 3, maybe 4 months out of the year if we're lucky. And so you have to just accept, this is where I am, and this is my project, and I'm going to keep plunking forward. Okay, now there was something I did not tell you about when we were up on the first one. But when I am doing a landscape design, and you have front yard versus backyard, I kind of like to go to the mullet rule: business in the front, party in the back. Okay, so I normally keep the front area clean, kind of classic. And then if you want to form a collection or get crazy with perennials or roses or whatever else, put that in the backyard. And that way you can experiment and get as wild as you want to. Now, the picture on the left is AI generated. And while I like some of the stuff there, there's some things that aren't going to really work long term. So there's the patio, that's fantastic. I love that little transition of space in the back. That's fantastic. I love dividing the garden into zones. But what I don't really care for is you've already got the fence, and then they put emerald green arborvitae that's going to go all the way around that. You don't really need it. There's not a whole lot going on with the shrub selection and choice there. So if something goes down and starts not looking so good, it's going to be like missing a front tooth, right? It's going to be very, very obvious. But take the photo on the other side. Yes, to mow the grass, you're going to have to move the Adirondack chairs. But can't you see just walking out there in your bare feet with a cocktail or, you know, some iced tea and just relaxing at the end of the day? That's really nice. If something starts going down in that garden, you're not gonna notice it quite as fast. So when I was at Southern Living, there was a landscape architect who has now since passed away named Dan Franklin. And Dan always used to say, you should never have more garden than you can take care of in 2 cocktails. If you're a fast drinker, you might either up your cocktails or get a smaller garden. If you're a sipper, yeah, maybe that would work. So here's a trend. Minimalism, this real Zen look, is giving away to maximalism. So what is driving that? Remember that whole farmhouse aesthetic where everything is monochromatic? Southerners have never had this problem. We like our jewel tones. We like our Lily Pulitzer. More is just right. It's kind of like the Christmas thing. If it's too much, it's perfect for a Southerner. So we have been doing this on the right the whole time. Now, if you love roses, here's the other thing. It's easy to be a maximalist. This is at the Lion Garden at David Austin, and just look at this, how amazing. So if you're a collector, this is a great place to be. If you have a small space, can you still get a maxed out look? Absolutely. First thing you're gonna do is take the bloom skyward. You're gonna bounce that color through the garden, and you never wanna show the end of the space. You always wanna make them feel like there's something else just around the corner. Lesson 2, say goodbye when it's time. Who still has bread prepared in their garden? Get that thing out because this is what's gonna happen. Plant the right tree. Sable palmettos, this was a Southern Living Idea House down in Beaufort. And the sable palmetto is perfect here because it doesn't take up a lot of root space, doesn't take up a lot of canopy space, so it's really good. We have hurricanes here and winds. Sometimes if a tree is knocked down, you're going to lose those azaleas. But look on the bright side, it gives you a way to rethink that landscape. We all know that if you put in a new hydrangea border, they're going to end up being the color that the soil pH is. So if you have like a pH of 7, it's going to be more reddish. And if you're down in the 4, you're going to be more blue. But don't you love how they rethink this and they put the little sitting area with the roses over it, really nice. Do you love being outside at night? Then this is what you need to be doing. Add those lights. You don't always have to make foundation plantings an evergreen shrub. You can do an aspidistra, which is evergreen, or you can just have hostas. But really think about how you live your life. Lesson 3, I want you to focus your efforts. How many farm families, farm people are here where you live out on a farm and you're like, I like to have 12 acres around me. I don't know what to do. So you want to stay as close to the home as possible to focus those efforts. You want to plant in large masses of the same thing to give a big, bold impact. And relax, don't kill yourself. So last summer, and this is going to segue into these beautiful flowers you see on the stage, I got to go to England to do a photo shoot for our new bouquet delivery service that we just started. And the British kind of have it going on with landscapes. So you come in by the pastures with the sheep there, and you come into the nice little parking court. And then if you look across from the front door, they have borrowed the vistas in the distance. And they haven't mown everything. They've actually left some rough on the side. If you have a large property, you can do this too. Now, let me show you what we were doing inside. So this is if you work right in front. We were shooting photography for these bouquets for the delivery service. So let's see. That's the kind of hell we can create in somebody's house. But what a fun, great team. Now, I want you to do something, but you got to keep paying attention. We're going to give away this large arrangement. We're going to give away the arrangement outside and send you one of our bouquets. But I want you to go to davidalstonrosebouquets.com. And I want you to subscribe. If you have an Instagram account, I want you to follow and like us. And if you have a Facebook account, follow and like us that way too. So another way you can focus those efforts is by planting in a container. This is Princess Anne, and she is perfect right by the back door. Lesson 4, get that relaxed, lived-in look. Everything that was kind of real like stiff and contrived is now going to be much more relaxed. And that includes what's going on in your garden. When the petals fall on the roses or the magnolias or whatever it is, just be present and be in that moment to enjoy that beautiful space. This is Elizabeth. She smells like amazing old rose. And she was named for the queen herself. And really delightful new introduction. All right, my backyard again, shot this January. There's a big movement. Leaves, should they stay, should they go? And I'm somewhere in the middle. I actually like to leave them, but put them in areas where they can break down and become beds. I know I'm turning into a little old lady because I love watching the birds now. And those little birds love those leaves. And it goes, think about forest. Who takes care of the forest? The good Lord and the leaves that fall, all right? So think twice about hauling stuff off. You can grind it up, put it into the beds, and create something really pretty out of it because you're feeding the soil. And remember, fluffy clouds, not meatballs. Don't over prune. Sometimes if you're trying to hide a utility, you're better off putting up a little fence. Lesson 5, and we're almost done here, is I want you to create a buzz. Bring those pollinators into the garden. They do so much. It's not just about you. It's about the holistic environment, and the more you take care of the entire space, the better off your garden is going to be. Pollinators include birds, bees, wasps, beetles, bats, and more. Anytime you can incorporate water into your garden, it's a hot climate. Just that sound of trickling water mentally cools you off. And you can see, if you already have a fence, you have the start of a garden. So start planting something along that border. Perfect pollinators that include roses or scepterdile, Lady of Shalott, and Pottering by Gently. I know we all love the high petal count roses, but they just can't get their little booties down in there to do anything. So things that have a lower petal count is really better. Some other examples, Desdemona, amazing fragrance. Vanessa Bell, excellent in this hot, hot climate. And ramblers, also, anything that shows their stamens is fantastic for bringing in pollinators. This was a little garden that I shot at Hampton Court 2 years ago. And it's a tiny space, but it's amazing because it's got it all going on. It's got the flowering walls, it's got just a few roses, it's got pollinators in there. And can you imagine just sitting out there with your cup of coffee? Very nice. One of the most important things you can do is prune your rose. And the first year you don't prune it that much. The second year you're gonna cut it back by half, especially where it grows really, really fast. These are just some little things that I think are very helpful for you. If you look at the very first where you have the bud and then you cut right above it, that's ideal. Going down to a 5-leaflet leaf is gonna give you the flower the fastest. And if you have older roses in your garden, because everything grows so fast here, cut them back by half because you're going to get a whole nother flush. I would do this in about July. You're gonna get fresh foliage, you're gonna get amazing new bud set. And when it cools off and you wanna go back outside, this is what you're gonna be rewarded with. So I have rambled for too long, but I will take 2 questions and then I'll be around afterwards so that we can answer more. And then also I'm going to randomly pick some people who followed us so you can take home the big arrangement, the little arrangement, and then see me in the big box. Any burning questions? You just have a nut. Okay, I either stupefied or scared you. Okay, so, oh, yes.
Which one makes the best cut flower?
Which one makes the best? So here's the thing. All of them make good flowers for cutting and bringing inside. Queen of Sweden does a good job. My Lady of Shalott, I do. As long as the sepals have dropped, that's those little green protective coverings. Once they have dropped and it started to unfurl, it's gonna open. Imogen is one of our roses, and Gentle Hermione that shatter quickly, so I wouldn't do it. I also like the Poet's Wife. Any other questions? See, I did not fight her. Okay, any other questions? Yes. Oh, those deer. All right, I'm gonna tell you a story. I was so tired one time, when I was at Southern Living, I had done 4-hour-long seminars for Lowe's, and someone asked that question, and I am just about giddy, I'm tired. And I said, I think I saw something, and I was thinking I had seen a product called Deer Scram in Smith & Hawken catalog, and I said, I think I saw something in the Smith & Wesson catalog. That's the best thing. Now, you know, I keep telling that story in the West Coast. So you gotta know your audience. But deer will eat anything they want. They do anything. A dog is really the best. 14-year-old boy is really good. But there's stuff called Deer Scram, but when it rains, you have to reapply it. If you're gonna put up a fence, it's gotta be 8 feet tall. Okay, so first person that I see, who went to our Instagram page and liked and followed us? Okay, so you're gonna get to take home the big one. All right, who went to our Facebook page and followed us? Black and white shirt, you get to take home the base that is out here. And then for the one that's gonna get a bouquet, and you have to come and see me because we have to special order this for you. Who went to our website and subscribed? Everybody's okay, right here in the pink and orange. See me afterwards and we'll get you signed up. Thank you so much.
And we are not done. We have 2 door prizes. These are each, we have more door prizes coming, but these are $50 gift cards to David Austin Roses in these bags. So get your tickets out and we will. First ticket is 3652191. Okay, I'll have that for you right here. And the second ticket is 3652198.
It's me.
She's got dyslexia.
It's not me. Can you read that number again?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. 3652198. Okay, so continuing our presentation, we have Stephanie Hall. Stephanie, as you might know, is the founder and CEO of Estelle Colored Glass, a luxury brand renowned for its heirloom quality, hand-blown glassware. Inspired by a cherished childhood memory of antiquing trips with her grandmother, Estelle, she launched her company in 2019 to fill a gap in the market for vintage-inspired yet modern glassware. Her designs, which include dual-tone cake stands and stemware, have garnered acclaim from outlets like Vogue, Martha Stewart, and Oprah Daily. And here to moderate her conversation, I've been told that he was voluntold that he is helping us facilitate this discussion, is Matt Burleson, and we're grateful that he's so willing to go along with our plans. So let's welcome Stephanie and Matt, please.
Thank you, Reagan. I asked for comfy appointments up here and they followed through, so thank you, OCtech, for that. Well, Rebecca, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. These two ladies that y'all get to hear today have a common theme that neither one of them knew about, and that was I could fill my wallet lightning at the mention of both of them because they have such awesome, wonderful products. So, Stephanie, great to see you today.
Well, I'm really excited to be here and thrilled to be invited.
Well, it is always awesome to have one of Orangeburg County's own, especially come back here and get to share your beautiful, beautiful products with us. So can you tell me, like, I've heard and I've read about Estelle. What was Estelle to you?
Estelle was my paternal grandmother. I grew up in Holly Hill and like 2 minutes away from Holly Hill Roberts High School. And my grandmother lived on the same street as the high school. And we lived, like I said, it would take me a minute and a half to walk to school. So she was my paternal grandmother.
Well, she's evidently or obviously instrumental in your creativity, in the sense that you have named your company after her. So when you remember back on her, what are some things that you look fondly on when you think about those memories going to see Estelle?
Well, one of the things I was very blessed to do was just spend a lot of time with her. So it's a quality time. She was definitely a quality time person. She wasn't in a rush at all with anything she was doing. The antiquing trips that were mentioned, these were all day trips. It would start off in the morning, and it would be a leisurely day going to all of her favorite places. And we'd have lunch. Anything she did was just it was a day, she was a day trip kind of person. Anytime she had visitors, I remember her visitors staying for a day, like it would be not like a 1 hour visit, it'd be like a whole day visit. They'd take a nap together, watch TV and take nap, eat lunch, she'd make dinner, and then they'd go home late in the evening. And same thing if you were out antiquing, it would be all day long. I mean, it was just a lot of conversations along the way with people she met and not seen in a while. My grandmother could stay in the grocery store for 2 hours talking to somebody in the aisle. I mean, she was definitely not in a rush. And so it was just the quality time. Something that I try to, I've got a long ways to go, but try to recreate I just spent a lot of time with her, and just by that alone, I just learned so much and just was able to pick up on firsthand things, the way she did things, and it just had a big imprint on. And I just when I moved, first time I really got into antiquing was when I was living in Chapel Hill. I was in law school there, and I woke up on Saturday mornings and went to yard sales, and there was a lot of like antique stores around. So that was, and I when I moved to Maryland later, I would get up and go to antique sales, and I mean it was just a part of me. It was I wasn't even, after a while I wasn't even looking for anything. It was just the whole treasure hunt. So I mean those are just some of the things I just picked up just by just starting as a child, and I just did them because I was used to doing them.
Yeah, I think you just described like a trip for Martha and I when we go to like Costco or Target or something. We'll go for like one item, and then like $375 later, we come out of there, and by come out of there, I mean like the first 2 aisles. I don't even know about the rest of the store.
Oh yeah. So one of Orangeburg was very a place my grandmother came to often because she was a big, huge roses person. I mean, she could spin it like, it was like Kmart. Nobody ever heard of Roses, but people know Kmart. And I'm like, I mean, Roses was like one of her favorite stores, and she would just spend hours in Roses.
You tell people you're talking about roses in Orangeburg, and they're thinking about the gardens. Roses the store. Well, your grandmother sounds like my kind of lady. Feed me, let me take a nap, watch the TV. I mean, that sounds like an awesome day. So she was obviously instrumental in you and not just your upbringing, but your business. And I love, like, I was doing some research on Stephanie prior to today, and I saw the terms, and it was actually in quotations, serial entrepreneur. And that just, like, it sounds like your grandmother, in a sense, kind of helped instill some of that into you.
Well, I mean, she was not, she worked up into her 70s. She was not an entrepreneur, but so I come from entrepreneurs, more so from my mom's side of the family. So I was introduced to entrepreneurship very early on. My mom's, she's actually a Florida, so I know a little bit about roses. But she's a serial entrepreneur. My mother is actually a serial entrepreneur. She owned a hair salon, and then she's been a florist for over 30 years. And so I know. So I never set out to be a serial entrepreneur. I wanted to go to law school since I was in middle school, and that's what I did. And I practiced for 10 years and had started a business while I was practicing. And then I decided, I mean, I was reading like, you do something because you have an idea of what it's gonna be, but it may be a little different. And I decided that I'm more interested in business, and I found myself reading. I wasn't passionate about the law. I was passionate about business, and every morning I was reading like the Washington Post and the New York Times, and just seeing what was happening in the business world. And I read business books, and that was my passion. And so I took a courageous step and said, I'm gonna pursue business, and that's what I did. And also life happened, and I had 4 children. I moved back to South Carolina. I mostly practiced in the DC area, and I moved back here in 2010, and I already had 3 kids. So you get asked in the kitchenette at work, well, what track are you on, the mommy track? So.
Law school is something that I consider too, but whenever they told me that school was required, the school aspect of it was more of like a hindrance to my social schedule. So I thought that perhaps the law school route wasn't for me. But so the kids, which one of the kids is taking an interest, if any, in what you're doing now?
Well, all of them, my 2 oldest are in high school, and they work with us through the summer months. They're all very interested in what I'm doing. They're very intrigued with it, and it's just really a thrill to see how they develop their own interests and how this might play a part in what career path they take one day.
Well, I personally love the fact that you have brought this back to South Carolina. This business, you could take this to any of the major metropolitan cities, New York, Dallas, Chicago, any of these places like this. And yet, what has driven you to want to bring it back to South Carolina?
Well, when I started, I was here. I was back home, and had decided that I actually ran another business, an event rental business that is actually just celebrated its 20th year. I just got, that business started to run itself, and I'm looking for something else that a side project I can work on, turn it into something that I can really put my imprint on. And I just started working on what happened is my husband and I had a house built, and I wanted a set of glasses, a set of colored glasses, because of all the glasses I remember seeing at my grandmother's, her using and having the colored glasses and all the antique trips. And I thought in my head, this brand existed. Surely someone has modernized the pieces. I can go on a site and buy one set, and then as I curate my entertaining pieces, I'll go back on and buy another set. And what I discovered was that had not happened. And I had to go on Etsy, and I had to go on eBay, and I was like, gosh, there's gotta be somebody else out here looking for one spot they can go on and buy a set and then go back and buy another set. And these would be beautiful gifts. And I just started thinking about all the ways that the world needs these pieces. And so it was a light bulb moment. And so that became my side project. And I just took all the steps, and it took me 5 years to bring it to market. I had some hiccups that didn't need to be hiccups, and in hindsight really were silly hiccups. Like I wanted every color to have it a box, a matching box that color. And boy, was that a rookie outlook because the boxes are so expensive. And so, but I had I actually still use them today. We have our boxes are made up in New York, and the company that makes them is a father-daughter company, and they've now since sold it to an Italian company. But they actually let their engineers go down this path with me. And I have in my archives like a hot pink box. We don't have the hot pink color here, but I have an emerald green box. And these were gonna be, I mean, just the most beautiful boxes, but boy, but was it not practical. So I was held up by things like that didn't make any sense at all. But it took, so finally we got into the market, and it's been a great response.
Well, you know, like, and you sound kind of like my wife and I. Like, I'm the dreamer of the two of us. The guy who doesn't see the small, minute details that actually matter. I believe we refer to those as logistics. I just see what I think will be awesome. And she often keeps me grounded in the sense that she sees those details. And it sounds like you had to kind of learn those details for yourself as you navigated throughout this process.
I would definitely label myself as a visionary, and you wear so many hats. You see the details, you see the trees, you see everything. After a while, so I've done it all, so there's no job that I don't understand and don't have a working knowledge of because I've had a hands-on role with it.
Isn't it amazing how businesses work like that?
Oh yeah.
How you just kind of grow and learn as you go. And you mentioned something just a second ago about you're begin to try to curate your own set of dishes, or like I remember when we were engaged and going through the engagement and marriage process and receiving gifts and things. Like now I understand a lot of girls now don't get silver pieces, silver collections or even China patterns. I didn't know anything about that, by the way, when we start going through this process. But I was educated quite quickly. It seems like your niche that you have found is scratching an itch kind of like that, something that is going to become an heirloom, something that you can begin your collection that maybe your daughter could expound on further. Was that something that you had in mind or like an intention?
Well, I knew I wanted the quality of the pieces to be heirloom, and I designed the box but my grandmother, she kept all of her boxes. And she had a closet, she kept all these boxes, and under the bed, there were boxes, and so I know I wanted the boxes to be put up, and how are you gonna transfer the pieces to the next person? So I wanted this box to perhaps, be utilized for something, and then you could put your hands on it and say, hey, I'm gonna give these to someone at some point. But my grandmother also had 2 china cabinets, and it was very ingrained in me to, like, when guests come over and you're hosting Sunday dinner, to have beautiful pieces that you pull out that are special and that make the occasion special. So that was I'm like, and when I'm curating something for my own forever collection, because that's the mindset I had when we were building this house. I'm like, we're not gonna move until these kids are out of high school, So I'm thinking forever. I'm getting rid of the IKEA stuff, and I'm thinking of like things I'm gonna have forever. So that was my mindset. Like I gotta have some beautiful, and even my own mother. My grandmother's influence and my mom's influence, like, have beautiful things that you bring out, and so that was the mindset. I got to start my own collection. That I'm going to be very excited to bring out that's going to be very impactful when my guests come over.
When I was born and raised in Alabama, and when I think about the South and the Southern charm, if you will, I think about hospitality. I think about entertaining. Those are all kind of synonymous with the South, especially Southeast, as far as a region goes. And I think about exactly what you just talked about. And for me, fine china has like Dixie on it, and I can throw it in the trash can after I eat my pizza. But for you, and really for a lot of folks, I can see how the charm, the appeal of having a piece that when you bring out, it means something to you. you know, when I'm using that fine solo cup, it does not quite have the same effect as when I'm using one of your beautiful glasses.
Well, this is all aspirational, honestly. I don't want any of you to follow me home.
So you're saying you're like us?
No, yeah, because I have 4 kids, and you know, I have, my youngest is 9, so, yeah, it's all aspirational, and I'll never probably get to the sophistication level of entertaining as, you know, it's a bygone era, honestly. But you know, I think there's a new crop of people, like when our brand started to take off, we got a lot of traction, like in Dallas and throughout on the East Coast, Birmingham and all these. I'm like, you know, I look up the names of the people who ordered, and you know, you know, it was just so amazing. People are still entertaining, and particularly like you said in the South, but it's, you know, it's aspirational. Oh, and just a funny story. One time during the pandemic, and that's when really our brand started to take off, when people like reevaluated their whole life and they were at home, and so I was going to be on a Zoom call with a woman who owns a winery, and I think that was the call. I wasn't going to be on a Zoom call, and I was like, gosh, you know, and we were supposed to like toast each other on the Zoom call. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have any glasses at home. and I mean, it was, and I never thought of, because honestly, every time we were like, every time I couldn't bring anything home because we were out of stock. And so, you know, we were at like months of wait for our pieces during the pandemic. And so I had to like tell my husband, please put it in your car now, bring home a glass and make sure you're home by the time I get on this call. So you know, I mean, it's just aspirational, and I, you know, I like the entertaining today is nothing compared to the days of old. And one of the things I did to commemorate and to just put it in a glass, they're not in glass clothes, but we just opened our first store on King Street in Charleston. And as I was going through the whole process, I was like, what kind of artwork am I gonna use in this store? And nothing felt right. And I thought of the idea. I had an artist I'd worked with a lot, and she just cold called me one day, but she got our brand so well, and she painted so many of our pieces, our glass pieces. And I said to her, I reached out to her and I said, what if I paint? I didn't really tell her what it was for, but I said, so I painted pictures. I already had a picture painted of my paternal grandmother, but I painted the women. It's called matriarchs at Sunday dinner. And so I painted 3 of the matriarchs who would have been at these Sunday dinners. And the first person was my actual maternal grandmother, who was friends with my paternal grandmother. So I have both my grandmothers in the store, and that just felt so special. And then I painted a very close family friend who lived to be in her 90s, and she was a Charlestonian. And then I painted our family preacher's wife, who was always at these dinners. And so I just, it is just to honor these women and the dinners, and something my children will probably never experience, but it was like just to stop time, and it's one of the most special things for people to come in the store and ask who the women are on the wall, and have our team, you know, be able to tell them who the women are, and you know, the matriarchs at Sunday dinner. I mean, these Sunday dinners are a bygone day to a large extent. I know our dinners in our family are a lot more casual now, but they used to be very formal, very regal. Only the best china came out, the heavy glasses. We even did a collection called the Sunday Collection that really, I wanted to capture the heavy glass that I was assigned to put ice in at Sunday dinner. And so, I mean, it really is me just going back in my, it's very funny, but my a teacher who lives a street over from us, she said to me, she said, Stephanie, you took childhood memories and made it into a brand, and I really did. And it doesn't seem like work. I never had to do any preparation to come and do these talks, because I just talk about my memories that are so embedded in, you know, and it's just been fun.
Well, that's, when I was, looking you up, I'm full disclosure, y'all, I did not know a whole lot about Estelle Colored Glass prior to agreeing to do this today. Okay, still. And I did some, some research and homework. And like, if I were to sum it up in like one sentence, what Estelle Colored Glass, was just, on the front of my brain, it would be taking childhood memories and making them into something tangible. And that's what I took away with when I was reading this, and I was reading about you and your story and your life, because my family was very similar. We went to my grandmother's. It was my maternal grandmother. We went to her house every Sunday, my entire family. And we had one of those Sunday dinners. She cooked lunch all day Saturday and then served it to us on Sunday. And that's what you've replicated in your glassware, and it's spectacular.
Thank you. And it is true. That's the framework in my head, of the Sunday dinners and, the around the table, the people, the joy, so our brand, we celebrate heritage, we elevate entertaining, and when we say use it as an everyday luxury. And so we've definitely expanded beyond the Sunday Southern dinners, because like we started getting asked about people in California and New York, they had the little apartments and they wanted to, and so, I had to really, we did our spring campaign this year in Napa, because, it's a whole, it's not Southern, we have a nice following out on the West Coast. So I've had to really expand but my frame of thought is the Southern dinners that meant so much to me and just really shaped who you are as a person. So yeah.
So we talked about some of the inspiration for the beginning, for the start. And we've talked a little bit about the products itself. But I want to expand on that a little bit further. How did you go about contacting and going into partnership with the artisans in Poland to manufacture your glassware?
Sure, yeah. So the company that's just celebrated 20 years is an event rental company, and we bought chairs, original big wood chairs from Poland, and we had a contact in Poland. And when I discovered that Poland was a place that you could have really quality glass made, I asked my contact in Poland if you know of a company that could help me with this project. I'd already hired a industrial designer to design the pieces. The cake stand and I had all my ideas together, and she in fact gave me the company that we work for now. It's a 100-year-old glass making company, so I did a lot of research, read a lot of books. I tried to have the pieces made in the U.S., came to a dead end on that, and then I eventually was able to do the project in Poland, and my family visited Poland 2 years ago, and they're just wonderful. They're so excited they were here earlier this year to visit us. They're so excited about what we've done. But the partnership has been wonderful. They allowed me to formulate all the colors. I sent them pictures of furniture for like the cobalt blue color that's there. I sent them a picture of a couch. I sent pictures of beautiful dresses for the lavender. And they finally sent me a color chart and said, "Hey, you gotta."
So, are you like the Benjamin Moore or Sherwood Williams?
Yeah. I mean, so they said, "Oh no, we gotta go off the chart here." But they did entertain all of my ideas, and it was such a fun project. And I looked up one day in my office, and I was getting the boxes from Poland, and I looked up one day and I'm like, gosh, I've got 7 colors I love here. And then, I was really hesitant to move forward. I already had some of the aspects done, and I had the picture of my paternal grandmother painted. And I had that hanging in my dining room for years. And, because I'm gonna do this colored glass company. And then I said, well, I've got the glasses now. I've got 7. We had a collection of 7 colors. That was our inaugural collection of the stemware, and then we had 5 cake stands. And so it was a very courageous move to say, I'm going to do a photo shoot now, and I'm going to launch this. And I said, well, I'm going to use some of the guys, because I had named this. I had the boxes and everything, and I had my my grandmother's name on the box. And it was one of those things, I'm like, this can't flop. This is, this is gonna be I've definitely had things as an entrepreneur that didn't go well. I'm like, this can't be one of them. So, but it won't matter because nobody will know about it.
And then you're in gardening gun.
Yeah. So what I did was I said, I rented a place in Mount Pleasant that was all white space. And I planned on taking our rental guys with me, because I needed shelves and all this from the rental company. We already had that stuff. So I was gonna do like a pop-up store and do the photo shoot. So we were moving in and people were like, oh, when is this store open? I'm like, actually, we'll be gone by 3 o'clock today. But what happened in the very end, it was so tedious, and I had all these different pieces I needed to take pictures of. I'm like, I'll never be able to get in there and get out by 3 o'clock. So I had to ask my mom to come, and I had to ask my aunt and my cousin to come, and they all, so they see, how clearly trying to put something together here, so I was so glad I took them, we got it was one of those things where, like I said, things just aligned. We had the pandemic happen, and we started getting a lot of press. We had I was home. My husband was at the warehouse. We had product on the shelf, so him and a couple of our rental guys were shipping product out because we couldn't put up doing any rentals. And so I did I was doing like 7 or 8 interviews a day. And it was amazing. I had it was really a surreal moment. I had the Martha Stewart's editor, Darcy Miller. She called me, and then Martha Stewart, she put a post up on her Instagram about our brand, and it was just, like Architectural Digest. I couldn't even remember who I was going to talk to next. So it was just amazing. We started getting, it was all in digital print, and we had a 3-4 month wait at the beginning, and people nobody canceled their orders. It was like, wow, it was just kind of surreal. And then we didn't even have right before the pandemic hit, I was going to do a trade show in Chicago, and I was going to go by myself because I'm just this little brand. I'm just starting. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't, I'm not going to take anybody with me. And then we got a call saying that the product was already packed to go and everything, and they said, well, the show's going to be canceled because of something called COVID-19. And I was like,
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. So I stopped at Dollar General on my way home, and because I'm like, this must be something coming because, they canceled this big trade show that's going to be 60,000 people. But we didn't have a wholesale program or anything, and we got our first 100 stores around the country that carry our products. They came into our program organically. It was just me going to their website and saying, "This looks like a store I could spend 2 hours in." And I'm like, "You're approved."
I love the research.
Yeah. I'm like, "Congratulations, you're approved." And it really, like I said, we were sold out for months. And Poland was making product for us sending it, and it was so big before we got here. It was very surreal. It's been such a fun brand. It's a happy brand.
How can you be sad drinking out of that glass?
Exactly. It's definitely a passion project, but it's been so much fun.
So when you're gonna have a dinner party and you're breaking out the wine in your lovely decanter and you're gonna pour in your glasses, what's your go-to color?
My go-to color is lavender. I love the lavender. It's so unexpected. Who's gonna forget the aunt or the family friend who celebrates you, whatever occasion is in your life? You're graduating from college or moving into your first home or your bridal shower. Who's gonna forget the aunt who gives them lavender coupes? You're never gonna forget that person. Every time you pull them out, you're gonna think of them so fondly. And so that was just the thought process. But I love the lavender. It's so unexpected.
So I want to go back to that, your inspiration for your colors. So you're just like literally just walking down the street, you're like, oh, I like that color. And you're seeing something that you already have in your home and you're like, huh, that'd be a beautiful color for a wine glass. And then you just send it over to your artisans in Poland and they take that and just kind of run with it.
Yes, and so like, we might, like, for instance, one of our more recent colors was butterscotch. And so I thought about the butterscotch candy, I don't know if they even still sell it today, but the butterscotch candy was so delicious and the color was so beautiful. And we got a lot of requests for like an orangish kind of color. And so, that was the color I was going for. I didn't send them any butterscotch candy. But, we went through this color chart, but I got like 30 pieces from Poland. And you had to go up in the light. I had to bring everybody in the office. But the research and development is still my office. It's just like a 10 by 10 office. But you get 30 pieces out of from Poland, and I pick which one I like the most, and I usually do a vote in the office, and but it's some of them. Sometimes you have to, like I said, go out in the light and see the differentiation in the color. But it's just like I just know like this is it, So yeah.
That's awesome. See, I told you I mentioned I grew up in Northwest Alabama, so I'm a South Carolina transplant. And where I grew up, orange wasn't really in my color palette as an Alabama fan. But I know you are in South Carolina. And you got to appease the Clemson folks. So
yeah, it was just one of those colors that we got a lot of requests from. Beyond the initial colors, it was usually by request. I'm listening to the customers. I'm seeing what they want next, and that's how we built out our collection. And it's just been so much fun. I didn't even know that like college students like our pieces. I was in Birmingham for an event at a store that carries our products, and that really kept us alive they sold so much of our stuff during the pandemic, and a lot of college girls came to this event, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that you got, I didn't even know that they had our pieces in their apartments, because I'm thinking forever collection in my house. I'm not, my apartment, I definitely had a Kia, and so I'm like, but it's a different world. And what did I do with that information? I went back and I hired, we needed to hire somebody else on our marketing team, and I hired somebody straight out of college. Because you know this crowd, and I don't. I have now 70% of our customers are 44 years and younger. So I have aged out of my own brain. So I have a lot of advice.
You clearly aren't up to date on the Alabama sorority rush videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently my child informed me. Donna Matthews may tell you about that thing, but my daughter informed me that, and that's kind of what I was thinking about when you talk about Birmingham. It has become. And for a state that didn't get its first pair of shoes until like 1987, it's really, that's an Alabama joke, y'all. I can make that. I'm from there. I can make that joke. It really is become like an up and coming area for, kind of Southern style and sophistication. And I see so many other little pockets in the South that have been traditional in that regard. New Orleans, Charleston, Savannah, places. It's nice to see some of these other states getting these areas. Are you seeing like an uptick in purchases in those, those type of little pockets as well?
Well, I always think of this brand as a campaign. Especially during fourth quarter, and the holiday season, I'm like, are my constituents in the South going to come out? And how are we doing in the West? How is everybody going to, up north? So I try to. That's how I think of it, honestly. But we've seen people, like I said, just celebrating, trying to celebrate, have a little joy, and that's just, I think it just condescends whatever area you're in. It just transcends every area, whatever area you're in the country, and trying to, like I said, everyday luxury, that message has gone over well, all around. And so we just built a wonderful community, and that's what we've set out to do. And everybody has they weren't very close to their grandmother. They have aunts or family friends who they see as their grandmothers, so they can really relate to that. And I didn't even know that was such a strong message. But it is, I mean, Garden Gun did a story and they said they wanted to do a story around the holidays. And, very early on, and that was one of my favorite, I just love the written, articles in Garden Gun, so it was one of my favorite, magazines, and I was like, they wanna do a story on me? You know, but the editor said that, they said, oh, yes, our readers love a good grandmother story. And I'm like, well, I got one for you. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things where, everybody, it just transcends a lot of different things. I mean, it really is, just building a community around, taking a minute to enjoy something, or, you know, or with friends, giving everybody a different colored glass and making the occasion special.
That's fantastic. So I don't know how much longer we can go, Faith. I can sit up here and talk to you all day. Like, I'm fascinated. Like, one more thing before we open up the question. So tell me the impact that your family has. Your family now, not necessarily Estelle, but your family now. How have they kind of inspired you or pushed you to continue expanding this company and, you know, coming up with new colors, new designs, new glassware? What do they mean to you and how your everyday operation goes?
Well, I mean, honestly, nothing's changed. You know, I'm still, we're still celebrating the same way. And I share with my community the same, you know, I interact with my, community the same way. So nothing has changed. It was not, like, I didn't pull it out of the sky. It was, this is like a brand I can be very authentic with. And I'm just telling you what has happened, and, you know, and so it's still happening, you know, so it's one of those things where it just really puts me in an element where I don't have to not be myself. So, I mean, that's the thing that I like, and that's why I'm definitely enjoying it. It doesn't feel like work. Yeah, and one of the impacts on the community, is we've created jobs. We have a warehouse in Holly Hill where, like 60% of our folks, can get home in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And that's just been, that's been the biggest, most rewarding thing for me. That this brand has created jobs and we built a wonderful community that love our pieces.
Well, those folks clearly don't have to fight that Charleston traffic.
Absolutely. And that's been so rewarding. Been so rewarding.
Well, I feel like Garden and Gun and the Today Show and Oprah Today, all of that has prepared you for this culmination at the OCtech Home and Garden Space. And this interview right here. But thank you so much for your passion that you obviously have for this, the insights you've been able to share, some information about the company, about yourself. I know we probably got a bunch of questions. You guys were a little scared for Rebecca. You don't have to be scared for us. We don't bite. Yes.
Knowing what kind of marketing you have actually been doing for the product, it sounds like so much of it has been by word of mouth or one person telling another and telling another. Do you have an active marketing campaign now?
Absolutely. We do. We do social media marketing. We do a print catalog. We also have, we have a wholesale program. So with the wholesale program, they call it target point marketing, where like other stores market for you. So like we sell to like 250 stores around the country, and like boutique stores. And so they do a lot of marketing for us. So the customer might buy from there once, and then they'll come at our site and buy from us after that. You know, they'll find out about us at that store. And like we sell through Saks and Nordstrom's, and they have the big marketing. And we have a small but mighty team, but we market in all the traditional ways. So our business is 70% direct to consumer. So a lot, 70% of our business is people go on our website and order, or they will go in as of February, they go into our store and order.
I probably stepped on toes, by the way, with that. Morgan, are you in charge of questions stuff? Okay. I didn't really see an itinerary, so I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing at this point. But Morgan does have a microphone if you have a question. The question that was asked was about her marketing and how she markets her products to consumers. Come on, there we go. We got a hand back there. Well, hold on a second. We got a microphone coming. Yeah, you're gonna be on the microphone.
All right, I think that's working.
My question is, since 70% of yours is, marketing without you having to have a store, why did you decide to open a physical store?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Because Charleston has a really strong, we just pair ourselves with the folks up in Charleston. But they have a very strong female founder community, and so I got invited to all of these wonderful dinners, and I would often get asked, like, "Are you going to open a store?" Because of the brand was doing well, and I was like, at first I'm like, "Why would I open a store?" And these other folks have the physical space, and I visited their stores and they're doing great with the product, and I'm like, "Why would I open a store?" And then I went to so many of them, and I saw the impact of a store. And we never made it to a trade show. We've never been to a trade show. So now we have, even with our short time open, we have all the stores that carry our products. They're coming to Charleston for a vacation. And there's no store anywhere that has. When we did the store, we have all of our pieces on display. So y'all must come and visit. But we have all of our pieces on display, replicas. Of select pieces from every collection that we have, and we have over 12 collections. So it's all in one place, and it's pretty compelling. And that was like a void, and void. Nobody had all the pieces, so that was one of the reasons we did it too. But it's our trade show room, and it's a place where it was just a light bulb moment. For me, it was like, I saw the impact of being able to welcome your community. And in our store, we have a mocktail bar, which is one of our ethos as a brand. How could I do a brand about my grandmother? And my grandmother was not a drinker, which is, she was not a drinker, so I couldn't be, and it was very lucrative to do beverages, alcoholic beverages, but my brand was, I'm like, my grandmother only had alcohol, I only had, iced tea at her parties and church punch. And so, so I found out that you can do mocktails, and I'm like, yes, I can do it. So we've done a mocktail series for before we opened the store. We did a mocktail series for like 3 years, and we did a new mocktail every Saturday morning. We still do it, and so that was a part of our ethos as a brand. So in the store, we have a mocktail bar. And so when visitors come in, we offer them a complimentary mocktail, and it's an immersive experience. So I don't think that, so basically what we did was we said, well, we either give all this money to Meta and advertise on social media, or we take some of it and just embrace our own space where we have full dominion.
And what are you gonna do if you're hosting that downtown Charleston dinner party and you break a glass, getting it out of the cabinet? You're just gonna hop on your golf cart, run down to King Street, and you're gonna see Estelle at her store, and you're gonna pick up the replacement there.
Yeah. 236 King.
236 King Street. Physical address.
You are such an inspiration to all of us. Been in business, and you're amazing. When it came to the style of your glasses, did your Polish people, did they create the style as far as your wine? Yours all have the shape. That's what I'm talking about. Did you create that? Or did the Polish people say, okay, wine drinkers like it this way? Because they're picky about their glasses, as you know.
I sent them, the silhouettes, because again, I don't even drink. So it was never, but this is a red wine stemware glass. And so I sent them the silhouettes, and I said, I'm just building this collection by silhouettes. This is beautiful, and that's how I did it. Honestly, but I wasn't. But I did have to have people surrounding me that said, now this is this glass is for this and this glass is for that. And even one time for an article from Martha Stewart, they asked me, that know nothing about what glass to drink out of. and I was like, I can't not be an expert in this article. So I had to get somebody else really tell, what the pieces are used for, and then they gave me credit for it.
Hey, you just say, take the credit when you can, I've learned that. so.
Thank you, yeah, and it was that was one of the things like I said, I got really tied up on. I want a beautiful box that makes a really good presentation in over glass. Yes. Yeah.
So is that why the old traditional Southern homes were so big? To hold all the boxes for all the glasses and plates and stuff?
I don't know, but I know my grandmother certainly had boxes everywhere.
Reagan's gonna come get that box for you.
Reagan's like, the price is right, Mama, come up here. I mean, you get one of those boxes, it truly is. It's like opening, like that's a president itself.
Yeah, and like I said, we have our glasses come from Poland, our boxes come from New York, and we have our production team putting all the pieces together, right out of our warehouse in Holly Hill.
We got a hand up.
There's one hand up here. We're gonna have to take one last question, and then we're gonna start with our closing remarks.
Why cake stands?
It was actually my it was just like I like cake stands. I thought it's like it would be a really novel kind of gift. It was like a niche. Again, if you're we built a collection. Like again, you can just add pieces to it. So the cake stand was definitely something, and you can put anything on it. You don't have to do a cake stand. But I thought it would just be a great gift.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much. Matt was completely right. We were actually the first time this year. I cannot wait for him to buy me some Estelle Colored Glass. And I was just noticing, I'm not sure which glass will look best with my dress today. And the other good news is I actually broke like a whole bunch of glasses the other day, like 2 months ago, when I was putting them up in it, because it was just a little too high, and so then I knocked them all over. So I have plenty of room in my cabinet. And Rebecca, I also appreciate your products as well. We have the 4 acres in town, and Herb will tell you it needs some work. So he is going to have to come over and tell me where to put the common roses. So I'm really excited. But thank you both for being here. In all honesty, we were thrilled to have you. We are thrilled. Y'all are both local celebrities in our minds, local success stories, women in business, and we're just thrilled that you came here to be with us today. Thank you so very much. I also want to thank our local garden clubs. Y'all have been phenomenal in supporting us throughout all the years. You have donated planters almost every year, and we just really can't thank you enough for everything y'all do. You attend the event, you go and bid on auction items, you contribute planters that raise money for our event. And I just really want to recognize all the garden clubs that both donated an auction item this year and participated in our People's Choice Award. So thank you to the 6 participants: Dogwood Garden Club, Magnolia Garden Club, Ellery Garden Club, Late Bloomers Garden Club, Petal Pushers Garden Club, and Verdant Garden Club. And I want to also thank our winner, especially, and our People's Choice Award winner is Late Bloomers. Thank you. I know that we're talking to that together, because I know her work when I see it. So. She didn't tell me she did, but I'm pretty sure. So, Rebecca, I will have to say, my yard does have the green skirt. I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, but we'll work on that. We'll work on it, okay?
So I also want to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, without the donors for the auction items, we really wouldn't be able to have this event. It is so meaningful to all the students who go here. The dollars that are put into it go straight back into scholarships and programs for the OCtech students. And I just want to thank the attendees, the sponsors, everyone who donated an auction item. Every single person in here is a hometown hero, and we really appreciate what you do for our community. As was said before, Rebecca will be here at the end of the program, and she is available to ask more detailed questions. I'm probably going to hit her up because she's can help me with that green nightmare I have going on, but I appreciate what she has going on. We want to also thank High Cotton Greenhouses. They are a presenting sponsor, but they also have donated begonias and Gerber daisies throughout the years. That they do, and then we resell them, and all the proceeds go back to OCtech. It's not something that High Cotton benefits from. They do it out of the kindness and graciousness of their heart. So we would really appreciate it if y'all would buy lots of begonias today. And those prices are $5 each, 6 for $30, or if you want to buy a flat of 15, they're $60. So thank you so much, High Cotton. For those who participated in the silent auction, I need y'all to check the posters on your way out. And then there's some nice little payment tables outside. Pay for them too. Then, if you need any uploading, there are plenty of staff people on hand that will help you load those into your car. So, go check out and then you drive up and they'll help load you. Also, graciously, Chick-fil-A has also gotten us some little treats to leave on as well. So on your way out, I want y'all to go by and eat a little bit of Chick-fil-A on the way out the door. If you're like, oh, that payment table is too long, don't worry, just eat some Chick-fil-A, wait a little bit, and then you can go pay your rights. Be on the lookout because, as y'all know, we have 2 events each year. The fall event is our wine and foods. So, these glasses, wouldn't they look spectacular at the wine and foods? Maybe you could bring your own home because I'm pretty sure we can't afford them for the wine event. But they're beautiful and they would look really good with some of that wine event. And now for some of the best parts, we got some door prizes, some more door prizes. And I'm a little bit sad because I felt like because we were drawing more prizes, I'm going to call them out. They wouldn't let me put a ticket in there. So, but somebody else might get a prize. Okay, here. Oh, hey, the box is right here in front of me. Okay. So for the first door prize, we have some candles that were poured by Tracy McPherson. And it's very generous of you to do that for us, Dr. Mack, wherever you are. I saw you somewhere. Hey, Dr. Mack. Okay, so the winner of Dr. Mack's homemade poured candles is 2179. 2179. Do I see anyone? No hands? Okay. They didn't know. Okay, next one. 2139. 2139. Anyone? Oh, over here. Yeah. Okay, and our next item is a flat tomato plant planted by our own Herb Bradley. Herb, where are you? Thank you. Oh, thank you. And the winner for this is 2109. Lucky if you have your 9, right? Oh, up there in the corner. Do you like to plant tomatoes? Because this year you're going to plant some. Okay. Now there are going to be some lucky, really special winners today, and because Stephanie has generously donated and brought some glassware and a cake stand. And so 2 lucky winners, one's going to go home with the glasses and one's going to go home with that gorgeous cake stand that was on the invitation and everything. So listen up, ladies, listen up. I'm stirring. Okay. 2181. 2181. Anyone? Okay, I see a lot of people moving around, but no hands. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, next one. 1291. 1291. This is Katie Payne. You lucky ducky. And this is for the glasses. And Katie, if you don't drink wine, you can make a mocktail. I'm pretty sure that Miss Stephanie has some good recipes for you. Okay. And for the cake stand, okay, we're gonna stir it up really, 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 really good. Okay, we're stirring. Okay, I got one. 2197. Oh, and she's so excited, cake stand in pink. It goes with your outfit. Okay, so if you did not win a prize, don't fret, because our own Tracy McPherson has made everyone a lavender balm, and you can pick one of those up on the way out the door. So everyone's a winner today. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack. We really appreciate your support of us. Okay, so should I miss anything? Oh, Rebecca has tons of brochures out in the hall, so help yourself to the brochures. They have beautiful pictures of the roses. So make sure you pick one of those up. But otherwise, I just want to thank you all for coming and purchasing tickets, and I hope y'all have a great day.